Maybe after looking at the companies, we should try to dive a little bit into the candidates. So we said before, what are the companies looking for? Maybe we can look at what are the candidates looking for, or the people who are interested in a job change. What are you seeing there? Are they looking for long-term employment or short-term employment? What kind of roles and responsibility? Of course, it depends on what you're looking for, but how can you qualify their expectations? Maybe almost the same questions than we talked about in the companies. Are they looking for a lifetime employment? Are they looking, they have no idea about lifetime employment? Say, okay, 2 years, 3 years max. For example, let's start with maybe this aspect of things.
I think the younger the candidates are, it's not about the level of seniority of the candidates, but about their age, the more short-term thinking they have in terms of employment. So they just want a job for now because they are still figuring out what they're going to do in their life, what is that they're enjoying. So they have this short-term vision, with some exceptions, of course. The more senior person is, the more they know what they want. And as a general recommendation to the candidates out there on the market, or someone who is like considering and wants to get prepared just in case, or looking for a next role, it's important to really kind of know yourself well and know what is that you want to do next. And if you cannot figure it out yourself, I would recommend to talk to a professional. It can be an executive search consultant, but I would actually prefer, before you go to exec search people or recruiters, talk to a coach, career coach. And I do a lot of that myself. That's why I dealt with people for, let's say, 13 years now doing executive search. And it's not helpful when you come and you say that, well, this is what I've done in my career. Look at my CV. So like the worst case scenario, when a really high level executive, they will send me their profile. And instead of meeting me, which I suggest, I give them the time of the day. I'm like planning a face-to-face if we're in the same country, to sit and really understand what is that they are about, what is that they want as people, as human beings, what they want to do with their life, with their career, like what is the dream job for them, location and everything, what's their family situation. And the worst case scenario, when they are saying, well, when you have something concrete, let's meet then. So they leave me with their CV when I have no idea who they are. And the quality of the CV can be also low. It can be very misleading, and it will not show me what this person is about. So I would recommend, if someone gives you time of the day and you enjoy talking to that person, of course, I would just take the chance, because that's an additional opportunity for you to get the feedback on your profile, recommendation as to where you can look your next job, your next career, where you can use this set of skills you have. So anyway, before you go and talk to recruiters or employers for that matter, it's absolutely the same. You need to be very clear about what you want. And if you come and tell me I can do it all in any region on the world, of the world, I'm very mobile, like I don't have any strings attached, like just give me everything without specifics, this is not helpful at all, because I need to still dig it out, and I need to understand you, and I need to test what's the type of culture, the size of company, what was the best project you ever worked on, what was the best company you ever worked for, or the worst company, right? And by asking this type of questions, I get the answers that help me understand who you really are and what would be a good match for you. And that's important to know before you get into the interviews. So people usually for older or higher level in the hierarchy, I usually deal with people who look for CISO type of roles. Let's say -1, but CISO, that's usually the level I operate on. Of course, they're looking for a long-term thing. So we have two types of candidates. We have people who just lost the job and they need to find something because they need to provide for their family. We're all human beings. We have the usual practical things we need to take care about. And then, of course, it's just about something faster. It's not that important. Of course, it's important to find the right employer, but priorities are different. But majority of them, they come with the long-term view. And of course, it's not about the lifetime employment anymore. We moved on from that. You just mentioned yourself that it's about continuous learning and adapting to what's happening in the company, with the business, with the market, with the industry. But the view would be, I would say, 5 years horizon.
Makes sense. I have a follow-up question, actually, and you already alluded to that. Do they have today some idea about what kind of environment they want to work, or what kind of company they want to work on? In the old days, it was just mainly about the job. but now on the wider scale, I want to work in a startup environment. I want to work in a high tech environment. I want to work, in a certain company with a certain style or culture. Does that play? Is that something they which is important to them, or which has a certain important weight to them, or just a little aspect of things? In 2023, 24, how do you see that?
I would answer in a really funny way. So the best candidates, that's exactly what they will tell me because they did their homework before they came to me and they said what is that they want. Because I need to understand this level of details. If they don't tell me, that's up to me to figure out. And sometimes it's easy and we can do it on the spot after, just asking a few questions. And sometimes it takes a really long time because people didn't do like the inner discovery work before we started talking and they don't have clarity or they have some kind of confusion, conflicting priorities in their life. Like I can use a real life example when someone is with the same company and they're progressing really good in that company for, let's say, 10, 12 years. But at the same time, they have an idea about a startup and they're running it on the side. So now there is a point where they can get promoted within their company, but they need to move into another country and they have a family and kids and everything, very complicated. Or actually what the person wants, they want to leave the company and start their startup and really make it happen because it's a really good idea and they did all the homework and the startup is kind of half alive for 5 years. And we started talking about the next career step and what's my advice. But by talking to this person and working with a lot of startup founders, and when I say startups, usually it's companies like Series A, Series B, A plus, that's usually the level which I would work with. I can share a lot of experience of what it means to be a founder. And I'm a founder myself for a long time, like 12 years. So I'm speaking from my personal experience as well. And basically, it all came down to figure out what is your current priority. I can tell you that it's much easier to get promoted in your current company because you know everything already, but then you have to move to the US and you don't really want it, right? So define what is important for you. If family right now is the most important thing, and for your family, it's not great to move to the US, then just skip it, right? Just don't even take this as one of the options. Otherwise, your universe or like mind map of making this career decision becomes very, very complicated and complex, right? So figure out what are the current priorities. And like general advice in the case of that person was get the promotion to the next level within your current company because you already talk about this with your current management and they know you really well. You're on good terms with them. They can give you this opportunity. You'll give it a go. And if you don't like it within a year, you can always resign, but it's much easier to get it in the current company and then find another role from that level where you will get promoted instead of leaving right now because you're not sure what's going to happen yet. And you have, as I said, a lot of conflicting priorities and then trying to find another good role in another company. And we had this conversation about 4 months ago. Got a feedback from that person that actually it was very useful because they really thought about the priorities and opportunities and how much stress it's going to take them if they will leave the company and start the startup. And are they ready for this right now with the family and they want to dedicate time to that? So literally the person decided on the priorities and decided to stay in the company, get promoted, and then take it from there. So it basically made their life much easier.
If besides one is the environment, the type of company, obviously salary is a big thing in the discussion, or either what they're looking for, what they can offer. Are people these days looking for other than maybe related to the environment a bit, other than salary benefits? That may be a bit country dependent and role dependent. I just want to know whether, what is the balance? Because I remember in my discussions occasionally, depending on the role, there was the salary part, but there was also other benefits which would be important, not necessarily to everybody, but to a lot of people. So how do you see that evolving again, at the end of 2023 when we're doing this recording?
A general advice when you do this type of negotiation, right? Just like literally get a maximum list of everything you could potentially get from the employer. And I'll talk about the trends right after, like your base salary, your bonus structure, your management responsibilities or opportunities if it's not a managerial role. your geographical coverage, and if you want to grow horizontally or vertically, do you have opportunities within the company to do this? And you can ask all those questions before you join them, right? And use it as a part of negotiation later on. Health insurance is a big thing, especially in Singapore. It's very expensive. It's actually required by the government. And if you're here with the family and the kids, it's extremely important that your company is also paying for the family, right? So that's one of the elements which candidates here are requiring. Apart from that, these are basically traditional things, right? What you can look as some extras is if you like to work from home, for example, is your company flexible in that? Some people like to go to the office, and even if the company doesn't require that, they will feel much better doing engaging with other people in the office. Some people want to have flexibility and want to be at home, let's say 2-3 days of the week. That's like an incentive which you can also negotiate with the employer. Some people want to have extended vacation or opportunity to travel, let's say 3 times a year, and keep working, but just like from remote location, if the company is open for that. The typical thing, like, the paid trip back home, tickets once or twice a year, that's also additional thing. But to your earlier question, which I didn't respond fully, I would say that candidates very often these days, they don't look only at the salary, they look at other opportunities as career progression within the company, the culture, the right size of the company for them. Are they 0 to 50, 0 to 100 people, or are they 100 to like 1,000, 500, 1,000 people? Do they like to be a manager, or do they really enjoy and they're very good at being individual contributor and working with multiple stakeholders and global teams? And I think it's really important to not just look at the traditional ways of how people define what a good career is for everyone else out there, but to really know what is something you enjoy and you are very good at. Because if you can figure it out for yourself professionally, then you can be very targeted and specific in the way how you go about this search of the next role that will make you more successful, because you don't have to stretch yourself. You don't have to do something you are not good at and pretend if you don't like managing people, because this is the feedback which I get a lot when I do interviews with senior level people. Some of them are saying that I really love my job, but the horrible part about this is managing a team.
You mentioned that it's there are so many diversity of companies and experiences people bring with them. I think my experience is that people they only know what they know. We have an experience. We have seen that company, this we like, this we don't like. We have not seen the 10 different types of companies. That's one big problem. So some people are more conservative, or maybe they sometimes we say they live in the comfort zone in somewhere because they know what they know and they don't know what they don't know. And others who are a bit more adventurous, who are willing to try new things, even though also they don't know what they don't know, but they are more willing to take the risk. And sometimes, as a company, you don't know what the future will bring. So having someone who's a little bit more adventurous sometimes is useful, because you can imagine evolve in the company. So it's not an easy question in that sense. And so maybe my next question is, I asked you that before about the employer, how realistic on the one side the candidates are, and the second one also how flexible they are. So realistic is it even possible what they ask for, and flexible, are they willing to adapt to things maybe they didn't expect?
I would say that because we talk about cybersecurity guys, a lot of them are very realistic about what they want. I think it comes kind of with the mindset and with the job as well. They're usually very good at articulating themselves, very like strong-minded, opinionated, which again is a part of the job, and that's probably the best skill. So they are very realistic, but I wouldn't say they're flexible, which is actually fine for this type of role. And again, this is what you want to have in your CISO. You want them to be able to look into what is their function needs to make sure the company is safe and they protect it from the cyber risks, and not be flexible about it, kind of, right? To explain to the stakeholders, really sell it, explain what is the impact on their business if something goes wrong and what exactly they're preventing in numbers. And I think we discussed it with you in one of our conversations that is very important for them to be not just like a tech person, but being able to translate whatever happens into business terms and present it to stakeholders that this thing which we did, it avoided the risk of confidential information being disclosed to other party and us losing M&A about the being a publicly listed company, right? Us losing this commercial secret and the deal terms and everything. This is a big financial risk and reputational risk. So if you can talk in these terms with your stakeholders, this will obviously help you. So and this is a very good question, and I can see the difference between the candidates. Realistic, not flexible, but it's only appreciated. And I just had a chat yesterday at INSEAD. They had a networking event for executive master, executive EMBA guys. Surprisingly, we had about 4 people who were from cybersecurity in the room. And it's the first time when I saw during the graduation wave that they had 4 people from cybersecurity, which also tells you something, that it's the first time when I saw that. And we talked about the market in Singapore and what became this kicker for Asia Pacific to start paying more attention to cybersecurity. And interestingly enough, it was because of the Singapore hospital records of the patients were leaked on the market. You heard about this story for sure, Guy. And this is when the government started paying a lot of attention. And now basically the cybersecurity strategy and growth is driven by the government. They pay a lot of attention to PDPR. They pay a lot of attention to cybersecurity overall. They do a lot of conferences, educational seminars, certifications, and so on. So in the space where I work, I see more demand for CISOs, for the companies working in fintech sector, because they need to get a license from the regulator, not only in Singapore, but overall in Asia Pacific. For example, at the moment, I work on the role for CISO fintech company applying for MA for the license in Korea, which is a very interesting market. I'm looking forward to like working with people there. But this is one of the examples. So it's driven by the government, by the regulators, and then the company needs to get the license. They need to be responsible, but also for them, especially in fintech space, it's crucial to have security around the customer funds.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think, especially on the CISO side, having myself in that role, you wear so many different hats. On the one side, you are a corporate manager. You are there to support the mission of the company and make sure that the business is happening. 1 minute you are someone who has to deal with risks of various kinds. 1 minute you have to negotiate with the different parties to make them change their way of working. 1 minute you have to think like a general who is fighting against bad guys, which are not visible, but they're there. And they are the ones you have to worry about to defend your company. Sometimes you have to be a political guy. You have to understand how to mediate between the different factions in your company to achieve a certain goal. Sometimes you have a change manager because you have to change the culture. So I think it's a rather diverse role. So I appreciate your comment and thanks for sharing those with us. But I like the idea of at least they are realistic and they hopefully know what they want. And we see also, I think as security evolves, I see people who come from the tech world and they learn management skills as they move up the ladder. And I think that is very important because a while back in also some of my customers, they are not all, they always, they understand the technical side well, but sometimes the management side is a little bit more difficult. So when you deal with executive management or the board, it's a little bit the harder. And I think the other way around, the board or the executive management also finding a way to deal with an area which is not necessarily very, very trivial. So I think there the matchmaking is so crucial. And I think you have in this discussion demonstrated your skills at analyzing both sides and finding the right combination. So thanks for sharing that with us.
One thing which is important, I will interrupt you here because you touched on a very important point as well, sharing your experience when you were CISO and you wear multiple hats. So again, from my experience, people I spoke with, they were very realistic about what is that they can or cannot do. And the best example, again, when the person said, yeah, I can be a CISO of a bank because I'm qualified, but I really don't like corporate politics. I'm not good at that, and I don't want to deal with that. So I will never be a CISO in the bank, right? And then we take it from there. Does it mean that he still wants to join the bank and work there, just not CISO, and be unhappy about not being CISO? Or is he okay to be on that level of the role, but in a smaller setup, in a fintech company, which will give him more freedom, less stakeholders to manage, less corporate politics, and so on. But I think that clarity is very important and being realistic about what you can do, because I will see it anyway. The employer will also see it at some point. So it's better if you know what is required of you if you take this type of role and be clear. Can you do it or not? Do you want to do it or not? Are you good at that?
I think this is both sides, employer side and the candidate side is very diverse, and we could continue a little bit on that. I think I would like to step up to the next topic is to understand how recruitment has been changing. You mentioned the word AI, and you're working in that area. How do you see AI impacting recruitment, or maybe an executive search is not impacted by maybe the more generic recruitment is affected a lot by AI. So what's your prediction on this one?
I mean, I'm being asked that question for the last maybe 10 years, not so much about AI, but telling a lot of people, especially in tech space, they're saying, hey, Juliet, but who's going to need you in 5 years' time? The tech platforms will replace you. Look at LinkedIn. Everyone is there. Why do we need you? And I always smile and say that for success-based recruitment, I can agree you can replace with databases or platforms where people can apply, or networks like LinkedIn. But what we do, and I think it's demonstrated well during this conversation, it's an art and it's a skill. And it's an additional benefit to the company when you're assembling an executive level team. So you're not just finding someone who can do the job or who has this title at a similar type of company, but you're trying to find someone who's going to fit into this machine well and will be able to drive it as a team in a sustainable way to the company strategic goals. So executive search will not be replaced, but overall databases, so a lot of mundane things are being optimized. And I was talking to a founder of a company who created a really interesting product. It will sound funny, but actually, in fact, it makes a lot of sense. It was in Austin, in the US. He built a platform which is a matchmaking between the employer and the employee, which is very similar UX and the approach as Tinder. But he applied AI under the hood, and he would basically recommend to the employees, the candidates, the best jobs for their set of skills recommended by AI. And then literally you only have the company name, the title, and the score based on your current skills, which are updated in your profile, and the job which the company posted. So you can just quickly look and swipe left or right. And a lot of people really liked it because it's gamified, it's very easy. And if you are unfortunately in the process of a job search right now and you're dealing with all the ATS and work days and green jobs and levers and everything, all these systems which you have to use to apply for a role, it is so cumbersome, it's so complicated. Every time when you submit a application, you have to do a long disclosure, share a lot of data, and then literally you will hear within 5 minutes, thank you, you're not going to go to the any round, not just next round, any round, right? And it's automatic, and you spend more time submitting the application. So I think from that perspective, AI should improve this process. It should make it easier for the candidate and for the employer to engage with each other. There was another very interesting solution which I would like to see as someone who works in that space, when it's basically a web platform which helps with the same thing. You post the job, you get the application as an employer or as a recruiter. But you can use multiple communication channels instead of going on LinkedIn and email and WhatsApp or Skype, as we discussed. What's the best way to communicate with you? Yeah. So you have different communication tools, which are all a part of the same platform, and you can just swap with the same person through different communication channels, and you don't lose a track. It's very useful, right, for the job. I would like to see more of that. It's not so much about AI, but also using technology, but it's not really there yet. But the tool which I mentioned from Austin, what they were very helpful with. So initially, the idea was to build it for the employer and the employer and the potential hire. But they also worked with corporate clients, which showed to them the biases of the specific recruiters hiring for certain roles and whom they were swiping left or right and what are the numbers behind. So you can look into all the, of course, KPIs, which are important for the internal recruitment team, but you can also discover the biases which the team has, and you can work on that specifics. It's actually very interesting technology. It would be great to have more of it, but so far I didn't come across something that is really, really insightful.
One topic I thought, there's of course LinkedIn, and there is sometimes behind LinkedIn there are recruitment platforms of different kind. And I thought there's a need for AI. You should submit your whatever your CV, and the AI matches to whatever criteria the receiving party has. Because today, I think one of the most painful thing is when you apply on, let's say, even LinkedIn, and then you finally hit the recruitment platform of the recruiting company, and you spend an hour doing silly matching. No value added, just to make someone's life easy. I understand that, and that makes sense. But I think this is it's kind of machine learning. Yeah, it's a kind of something hopefully the AI can do in the future, and that should not waste anybody's time, and it can probably do a good job. This is not even that sophisticated, but that's kind of even at the elementary level. I think a little bit of AI improvements would make the market more fluid or more efficient. Sometimes in the past, I have seen someone, taking me to his recruitment platform, and I give up. I said, no more. I don't want to spend an hour and a half trying to figure out what they want. But it's technical. It's like we only accept one format, and so it has nothing to do with the job at all. And hopefully AI can help in that sense. One big thing is, besides AI, is there any other driver, technological or others, who may influence the way recruitment goes in the future?
Let me add about the AI part. What I see more and more is that candidates, they would, and I have a few people I know personally who would use it just to play with ChatGPT. They would put their CV into ChatGPT and they would say, hey, this is the role I'm applying for. Can you write up a cover letter for me? So here is my professional background. Here is the job. Write the cover letter. This works really, really fast. So that's replying to the pain point of, oh my God, I need to apply. It takes so much time and I put a lot of effort. At least you can play with ChatGPT. It will write everything for you. So this is a very good use of the technology, but it comes more from the candidate side, not so much from the client side. Because a lot of things which are coming from the technology we already experienced for a long time, like your CV is being screened based on the keywords, the number of keywords and so on, or the recruitment platform will show to the recruiter the top 5% of the candidates, which actually LinkedIn doesn't do. So from my experience, when I work with clients, even if they post the role on LinkedIn, and you can see it by the number of applications, if it's a recognizable employer brand like Meta, they will post the role, and within a day, you have 100 applications. Within 5 days, you have 1,000 applications. Who can do it manually? Can a recruiter actually go through all of them? Honestly, no. And they don't give you a score of the people who are the best match for your role, because it's also very difficult to actually accurately identify if it's a right match or not, just based on the keywords, which the system can do. So yeah, using AI would be helpful, but we need to use it in a smart way and actually efficient way, like that platform I mentioned earlier.
I think so. I mean, I think as you said, if I want to be efficient as a recruiter, especially, I'm not talking executive recruiting, but maybe other position, N minus, as you say, N minus one or two. I have so many candidates, and I only can spend so many seconds per CV, which is maybe is even humanly not even easily possible. And if the AI can help you to do this job in seconds, but actually spend the right amount of quality time to actually process it, so that you are sure that you get the right guys without you having spent any time, or will benefit both your job and I think the candidate also in some ways. I think the important part is for me is how do people get in touch with you if maybe they are interested in talking to you, or obviously companies may also be interested in talking to you. What is the best way to do so? Is it through your website? Is it email? Is it WhatsApp? What's the best way?
I think the easiest is to do it on LinkedIn or through my website. So on my website, I don't have an email because you know what are the consequences of that. You'll get a lot of spam messages and subscriptions. So contact form, or you can just reach directly to me on LinkedIn, whatever works for you. And of course, employers who are looking for highly qualified candidates and they want to get a quality search, including everything I mentioned before, because it's not just about giving you a candidate, but it's about the whole thing, which I mentioned earlier, who will be a good match for your team. This, of course, would be the best way to get in touch. And I would appreciate talking to you.
In the show notes, we'll share all this information. So to everybody who employer and candidate who may be interested, both website and any other, and your LinkedIn profile, obviously. I think one last thing I wanted to ask you is, I know that, and you mentioned yourself, you are from Ukraine, and and we know Ukraine needs all the help it can these days in many aspects of their existence, or their struggle, or their situation. Is there any way you recommend anybody to help globally, or especially in Singapore as you're located there? We will share, of course, the information in the description of the video. But any quick advice on this one, and especially these days, Ukraine was a big topic, and then people got a bit used to it, and then other topics came. So I'm always a bit worried that we'll forget about the reality of that situation, while the need for help is so much bigger now maybe than a few months back. So any words on that topic?
Thank you so much for your support, first of all, Guy, because I agree that, especially when I come from Ukraine, even if I live in Singapore for 7 years, I'm very emotionally involved in that. My mom is still there. I have a lot of friends who are there. So, what I would say, the first thing which is very important is if you support Ukraine, it's of value even just to tell someone whom you meet from Ukraine, to tell them that we know, we care about what's happening, we did this and that, we would like to support. Is there anything you can recommend for us, how we can participate? Because you can hear, depending on where you are, different ways how you can do it. What I do from my side, for example, we did this year, first time in the history of Singapore FinTech Festival, we had Ukraine country booth, which is a business delegation, right? So it's startups who came from Ukraine. A few founders actually came from the war zone. They had a special permit to leave the country to come to this exhibition. So I think it's important to support in any way which is comfortable for you. You can do, I don't know, you can support it with the tech which you have. You can support Ukraine by hiring people from Ukraine, by working people from Ukraine, the companies. I mean, we have a lot of very interesting founders and solutions. There is a website, I will share the link with you later on. It's about Ukraine tech ecosystem, which has all the product companies we have, which has all the outsourcing, outstaffing companies, because Ukraine is a massive country. It's more than 42 million people. A lot of them are involved in tech. So you can find a way how to do it. I'm not going to recommend any like charities or something specifically. I know that this is what probably you were targeting, but I would just overall say, feel that it's very important for us when someone just says words of support to the country. It's important to know that people remember and people try to help. Find a way how you can support local Ukrainian community. Probably a lot of people move the countries and they need help with getting integrated. And I was a part of the INSEAD initiative at the beginning of the war for the first year. to just connect people and find a place where they can stay, help them find a job, help them get integrated into the local community. Almost in every country, I know a volunteer who is usually someone I know personally, who will run a group helping Ukrainians integrate in their country. So if you want to help and you don't know how, you can reach out to me and I will connect you with someone I know personally. I will not risk unless I know those people. But there are many ways how you can help. And another thing is that Eric Schmidt launched a fund investing into startups from Ukraine, doing military tech or anything related to that type of technologies like drones and everything. So there are ways how you can work with Ukraine companies, Ukraine government at the moment and support through that, but also invest into a new upcoming technology, which unfortunately, thanks to the war, but is a driver to building this type of solutions.
Thank you so much. I think hopefully many people in the audience will appreciate your advice, and I will share all the important information, the links, the contact points, and I hope we can contribute a little bit or enough to not forget the topic and to hopefully help in some ways to stop it at one day in the near future, I hope. So thank you very much for sharing that. Again, thank you so much, Juliet, for sharing very candidly your insight and especially the advice you give to companies and to candidates. And I'm sure anybody who is looking for a serious professional advice, should get in touch with you for that. So thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure to be on this interview, Guy. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope it will be of use to your audience, and please feel free to reach out with any questions you have. I'll be happy to help you.
Super. Thank you so much, Juliet, and looking forward to that.